It's Solo Spain and Company, ESPN Radio, ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, presented by Progressive Insurance, coming up at 8 Eastern. An hour-long podcast with Tamika Catchings, Muffet McGraw, and Philip Fulmer, talking about women in leadership, the great Pat Summit leading in crisis, and all sorts of other stuff. So we'll get to that in about an hour. But joining us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, the Commissioner of the NWSL, Lisa Baird. Lisa, thanks for the time.
Hey, Sarah. Well, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I have been talking about you and people of your ilk for months, saying I do not envy the job that you have of trying to get back to action during such a complicated time. But the NWSL will be the first contact/team sport. I'm usually using those terms loosely because I know NASCAR people got mad at me for saying it wasn't a team sport. But I think everybody knows what I mean when I say that. You'll be the first back, the Challenge Cup, starting on Saturday. And I want to start with the biggest news, which is, of course, the Orlando Pride pulling out as an entire team because of COVID plus tests. What did you make of that news?
Well, first of all, I'm deeply concerned about the health, wellness, both physical and emotional, of the Orlando Pride team. I'm really certain they're having the best on-the-ground health care in Orlando with the Orlando Health System, and we're doing everything we can to support them in their recovery.
Were you worried at all when they came forward and decided to take their team out that it would affect the integrity or the likelihood of the rest of the Challenge Cup going on?
Well, first of all, the protocols that we put into place early on contemplated, and actually we had a positive testing protocol that we put into place to make sure that we were really smooth in our operation when and if this happened. I think most commissioners, most leagues are preparing for that. And in this case, we're pretty confident that our protocols have worked. We have identified, isolated, and made sure that the team is in place. But I think that while as disappointing as it was for the ownership at Orlando and us to make this decision, it was the right decision to withdraw.
Yeah, and certainly a disappointment for the uninfected players or unaffected, I guess, would work as well. But the best decision based on health and safety. We're talking to the Commissioner of the NWSL, Lisa Baird, here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. There's obviously people who have to miss due to health reasons, and that, in that case, an entire team because of the outbreak. But there are also players who are sitting out due to injury or sitting out during this because of the social unrest that they'd rather devote their time to. What kind of conversation did you have in advance of the Challenge Cup about if there was a hard line number of folks sitting out that would cause you to maybe decide to rethink the event, or was there ever a line?
Well, I think there was. I mean, and that's where one of the first tenets of the Challenge Cup was us working collaboratively with our Players Association, Yael Arvak and Brooke Elby, and we sat down with the Players Association and with U.S. Soccer and the U.S. Women's National Team, and we outlined what it would take to be able to support the Challenge Cup. And one of the things that was very important to Brooke, Yael, and I for the NWSL players was to come up with a scenario where we could absolutely, as ownership, guarantee their compensation and their health and benefits to the end of the year, and with their support for the tournament. And that was something that we felt was a big achievement and was critical to making sure that we could put the tournament on.
It's Spain and Company talking to the Commissioner of the NWSL, whose season begins this Saturday, the Challenge Cup. It's Lisa Baird. Looking at the names of those sitting out, there are certainly some pretty big names in Kristen Press, Carly Lloyd and Mallory Pugh to injury, Tobin Heath, Megan Rapinoe, but lots of teams have no one sitting out. Were you surprised, and I would imagine probably delighted, but were you surprised at the sort of unity amongst many of these teams to want to have a season and play?
Well, I guess I'm not surprised because, coming from 10 years in the Olympics, I know what the passion is for players and athletes to be in the field. And my job as the commissioner was to ensure that I was putting together the safest tournament for them this time. That's the difference maker. I think we've been in open dialogue, answering tough questions all along the way. But I'm not surprised because these players are rookies, our team players from around the world, and the U.S. Women's National Team. They all have the biggest hearts that I've seen in sports, and they want to play their best game. But this time they want to do it safely, and that's what we've been working on.
One of the things I often talk to female athletes about is the many jobs that they have to hold, more so than male athletes. And there are plenty of well-rounded and wonderful personalities on the men's side, but their requirements can end with be one of the best at what you do. And on the women's side, it's be one of the best at what you do. Also, sell the sport, sell your team, be nice, do charitable stuff, talk to kids, be photogenic, be beautiful, everything. And I wonder how much more pressure there is on a smaller and relatively newer league like the NWSL to have a season in order to be able to support the players, but also the league itself. How much pressure was there on both the players and you to make sure that this didn't fall prey to coronavirus?
Well, you know what? I love the phrase. I've kind of coined it with my staff. So I'll say it on ESPN radio right now. We're small, but we're mighty. What's amazing to me about these players is how smoothly they rise to that challenge. And I think you said it right, Sarah. These are players, athletes, staff, general managers. They just rise to the challenge, and they do it so smoothly and effortlessly, you wouldn't know the many demands on them. So that's been great. But I think, look, there's no question. We have a moment in time right now with a lot of variables that came into play. Not only the fact that the Olympics were postponed and we have time on the schedule now to appeal to a broader audience of Americans that are excited about the return of live sports, that are excited about, an Olympic-style tournament. And, it's my goal to make sure that all the players in my league have the chance to get known, their stories, their style of play via this tournament. So while it was never our intention to be first, Sarah, now that we are, we certainly want to take advantage of the fact that we'll be in the sports spotlight starting this Saturday.
Yeah. So this Saturday, the opening match will be on CBS, North Carolina Courage versus the Portland Thorns, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 12:30 Eastern this Saturday. And a bunch of other games will be seen on the streaming on CBS All Access. I'm a Red Stars fan, so I'm curious. Yeah, that's my squad, and I'm proud to see how, no one sitting out, and I'll get to see the full squad play. But do you think that this Olympic-style tournament, this format, benefits any kind of team more than another, or can you see a team sort of succeeding that would be tougher for them in a regular season?
Well, this is what I'm excited about the Olympic-style tournament is that, a lot of the international players in the U.S. Women's National Team, they're really used to this, right? What's exciting about seeing this come together is the mix and the chemistry of the teams and their adjustment to this tournament schedule. So, I mean, they're training really hard. They're doing what they need to do. And what I'm excited about is what happens with the TV audience, even though we won't have fans in stadiums at Zions Bank. I'm really excited to see what happens with the fan bases and what they see with these women as they really take the pitch and really have this exciting of a tournament. I think the best thing that can happen is not only will avid soccer fans really embrace this, but we're going to be able to appeal to a lot of casual fans in sports because they're used to this type of tournament. Yeah. So it's our chance to really break through.
We're talking to the commissioner of the NWSL, Lisa Baird, here on Spain and Company on ESPN Radio. Before I let you go, I'm curious. We've heard so much detail because of just the level of reporting and the insiders embedded with something like the NBA. We get the detail on the full protocol and the bubble and everything else. What exactly is the format of, protecting these players and staff members, especially when we know that, say, that Orlando Pride team was out hanging out at a bar and they believe that's where the spread came from. How are you keeping them? Is it a bubble? Is it a sort of bubble? What's the deal?
Well, it's what we're calling it is a protective environment. There's three components to this. Number one is our facilities. We're using the Utah Royals facilities and the facilities at two stadiums. And you know what? There's something about being small and being nimble and agile that's benefiting a lot of sports in this crisis, Sarah. Let's make no bones about it. If you're smaller, you're able to do things, I think, a little bit nimbler and better. So we have the right facilities, and that was what was so impressive about the Utah Royals owner, Deloy Hansen's bid. So we can make sure that we're handling them there. They're rooting through there. There's not any, it's our environment. in terms of a soccer facility, nobody else. Number two, where the players are being housed, we put together a really protective environment. They're eating alone. They're staying on their own floors of their hotels. So that's the second thing is when they're off the field and when they're not training, they're in the protected environment. And the best thing about it is with the approximately 250 players that are going, we've got a support system there that can really take care of them. You know, we've got runners that are going to the outside to get what we need from the outside environment, whether it be medicine. We have an on-the-ground medical partner with University of Utah, which is an enormous big advantage for us to take care of us on the ground. And we've got a really experienced staff with the Utah staff and my own ready to make sure that this goes off smoothly and without a hitch.
Well, we're really looking forward to it. The return of professional team sports in the U.S. will be owned by the NWSL starting this Saturday. Thanks for the time, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sarah, and we'll be talking to you from Utah.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Go Red Stars! Time to claim the cup, I guess, Challenge Cup or trophy, whatever it is. I'll take whatever it is. We were so close last year.